What is up, my aesthetic boys? It's Fresh, back with another video. Today, you'll get to be the judge of Petty and ProRevenge as we take a look at some coal rolling, order taking, science cementing, bird feeding stories. Problem neighbor feeding feral pigeons. Stink bombs. A tough response, but it worked. I live in a 10-story apartment building in a dense part of a city with numerous other tall complexes, but also a number of old single-family homes. One such home abuts my building directly under my 8th floor apartment. The longtime owner has had a pigeon coop in his backyard for years. The birds and smell are a nuisance, but no big deal. Then, about 6 months ago, the owner took it upon himself to dump 20 pounds of bird seeds in his backyard daily, attracting 200 to 250 city pigeons. They're feral that lived in a nearby park, but once the feeding started, they ended up hanging out at my neighbor's roof most of the day. Every day. Complaints to him to desist were fruitless. Numerous neighbors also complained to city officials, but they were useless too. Animal rights activists on our city council who halted a pigeon control program a few years back as cruelty to animals are very pro-animal. They refuse to take action under the pretext that there is no sort of nuisance law the city could use in this case. The smell from the pigeon excrement in his yard progressively got worse, and the birds started roosting on our property and crapping on parked cars. Several disgruntled neighbors, including me, pondered a solution for months. A neighbor and I arrived at a solution. Artificially escalating the nuisance level of the problem, specifically the bird reek, so the city could no longer ignore the nuisance. It had to be logical, secretive, and calibrated. Someone couldn't just throw dog poop onto his property and expect an outcome. Long story short, we concocted an odorous slurry. Using my 8th floor balcony directly over the pigeon lover's backyard, I gave it a gradually increasing midnight sprinkling of slurry, which disappeared into the grass in his messy backyard. Within 1 week, the increased odor emanating from his property reached 1/2 blocks away. Suddenly the problem was resolved. We didn't see the official action, but word was that several prominent businessmen who own a restaurant down the street complained to the mayor about the stench. The city took action. The guy is now only allowed to keep about 15 pigeons in coops. No more feeding the ferals. Hey, an unorthodox solution to a problem that needed to be dealt with. Now, it goes without saying that this is a prime example of modern problems require modern solutions. But something in this story stuck out to me. OP says that the smelly neighbor dropped 20 pounds of birdseed for the feral pigeons daily. Now, I'm no avian expert, but that sounded like a lot. First, I need to find out what kind of seed a pigeon would eat. According to the first item listed at the top of Google, cracked corn would do the trick, which conveniently was also one of the cheapest per pound seed options over at countrymax.com. If you buy more than 20 pounds at a time, you get a big wholesale discount, so at 57 cents per pound, we come to a daily total of $11.40. I realized, oh no, I forgot to factor in shipping, and oh my goodness, it's another $18.16 to ship, for a daily total of $29.56. Well, in the words of every contestant ever on Shark Tank, I knew there had to be a better way. What if we bought a whole week's worth of seed at a time, and just had weekly shipments, assuming the neighbor had enough space to store up to 140 pounds of birdseed? Well, the seed price looks to be $79.80, and shipping basically doubles that to a whopping $161.17, or roughly $23 a day. Now, to be fair, the value is pretty good since you'd be looking at a per pigeon cost of 9.2 to 11.5 cents per day, but that's beside the point. I'm not sure how I got from a revenge story to getting daily emails about clearance wholesale birdseed, but let's move on before things get any worse. Pissing on the floor? No food for your coworkers. My first job was at a fast food chain when I was 16. As the new and young guy, I often got the bathroom cleaning duty, which usually wasn't too bad at my location. But one day, as I was just about done, I was pushing the mop across the doorway when a very big, as in tall and athletic, dude walks in. I politely warned him about the slippery floors, and he just stared at me. Then, he put his back to the wall across from the urinal, dropped trow, and pissed all over the newly cleaned floors. He did this all while looking directly at me. He smirked at me as he finished and walked out, not even washing his hands, by the way, and headed towards the counter as I hung up the bathroom closed sign. I went to talk to my manager and explained what happened. He was a good guy and told me that someone else would re-clean the bathroom and that I should go stock some cups up front. This gave me the opportunity to witness what was about to happen. My manager walks up to the front counter just in time to take this guy's order. The guy pulls out a sheet and proceeds to read off a large order for his company. If I remember right, it was for about 30 people and they were all customized. No mustard, extra pickles, etc. As he finished his order, my manager says, "Sir, you will not be getting food from us today." This man gets enraged and starts pounding the register with his hands and yelling about racism. But my manager politely informs him that he cannot urinate all over our floors and expect to be treated with respect. The guy starts whining about how particular everyone is and that he must have food from our chain and there is not another chain for 10 miles. My manager wished him good luck and pointed out that he has enough evidence on the security cameras to call the police. The dude chose to leave, but we all knew his day was going to be a rough one. One of the funniest parts of this is the fact that not only did his alpha asshole complex get him into this pickle, no pun intended, in the first place, but once he was denied service due to his absolute headassery, he continued to flaunt the size of his metaphorical penis. What do you think talking about your importance is going to accomplish here? You think the manager is going to be like, "Oh damn, my bad, I didn't realize you worked for a company or had people counting on you. Please, and next time just ask the minimum wage employee to kneel before you and he'll gladly accept your wealthy urine as the gift that it is." Christ. On the other side, while it is simple revenge and some might call it petty, if he really was getting a large custom lunch order for a group of wealthy, important people, he could literally use his job for failing to do that, especially under such self-inflicted circumstances. Getting the dude fired has to be pro, but I'll leave that call up to you guys. If you haven't already, be sure to vote in the poll. He just sits on the couch and drinks beer. Now, this is a petty revenge involving myself and my dad from the late 90s/early 2000s, so sorry for not much detail. I was but a small child. So there I was, sitting down, enjoying watching TV when my dad comes in after a long day working. Not that I realized it at the time. He sat down and changed the TV channel and asked me to go get him a beer. This upset me because I had been watching a different show. So I said no, and I got in trouble. I can't remember exactly what the punishment was. A couple of months later, I happened to be on The Book Place. I think my mom knew a presenter. I don't remember. So there I was, having a nice walk through a garden with the nice presenter lady. Then we sat down and read a book called My Father and I think this is what it was. After it was done, the presenter lady turned to me and asked what I did with my dad. I turned to her, looked her dead in the eye, and said, "Nothing. He just sits on the couch and drinks beer." After that, we did another take apparently. I honestly don't remember. That went well, and that was that. Many years later, I learned that my first take had won Channel 7's Blooper of the Year award. Now, for those of you who aren't from Australia, which according to my channel analytics would be 95.9% of my audience, The Book Place was an Australian kids' educational television show broadcast on the 7 network from 1991 until 2003. It was hosted by a combination of 5 people and 1 puppet designed to look like the Prime Minister, only one of which is important enough to have their own Wikipedia page. And, well, if you can't already tell, it looks exactly like a 90s kids show would look like. Not really a good thing or a bad thing, it's just a thing. And I'll be honest, I don't care what you guys think. Y'all, this is ProRevenge, all the way. No doubt in my mind. Children are uncensored little balls of dangerously malleable sentience, and while this kid knew absolutely nothing about his or her father's career or why he might want a beer in his own TV program at the end of a long day at the office, they saw their opportunity to roast him. And boy did they take it. Oh, they sure did take it. You don't follow traffic laws just because you have a white expensive car? Let me blacken it for you. I've read plenty of parking stories about people acting like Richards and Karens, but what about heavy traffic stories? You know, the beeps and horns, the shrieks and curses, and all the killing of nerve cells because of this one idiot who thinks he's the king of the road only because he has an expensive car. There are ways to get back at him, and you don't even need to stop. A little background on the traffic laws of my country. We have laws of a so-called traffic advantage. If you're in the States or some similar countries, you might know that as right of way. You see, on a crossroad where there are no traffic lights and 2 drivers meet, if there is a stop sign on one of the roads, we say the other driver has advantage, as he can continue driving without having to stop. Respectively, if you enter a main road, those driving on it have advantage over you. I think you should probably know where I'm going. Yep, me and my father were in our car on a main road when, suddenly, a nice white BMW SUV entered the road right in front of us, taking our advantage away and forcing my father to slow down to avoid a collision. It was a real Richard move. My dad hit the horn and the driver of the BMW, now in front of us, raised a hand with long manicured nails, showing a middle finger back at us. Woohoo, we have a Karen in a BMW. I'm mad, Dad is mad, but he said to me, "Hey, want to see something cool?" Sure. You see, my dad is driving a 1996 Nissan Primera Turbo Diesel. He's always driven it sensibly, but this time he decided to do some petty revenge. So, he sped up a bit, went in front of the BMW, and changed the gear from 4th to 2nd, increasing the RPM drastically and releasing a thick cloud of black cinder, which covered the front of the BMW from top to bottom. Karen turned the wipers on immediately, but this was a big mistake, as the cinder was all sticky and oily, and turned the front window into a dirty mess, as it was covered with the black mud. In some cases, if a diesel car is driven sensibly, and I mean no burnouts, no engine revving, and no kidding around, the engine will tend to build dust like cinder at low gears, and a high RPM rev will clear it out easily through the exhaust. It's really petty to do this in front of another car, as it can't be cleaned out easily once it cools down. If you mix it with water, it gets even worse. Petty or not, it was something truly sweet. As Karen was struggling to clean her front window, me and my dad burst into laughter as we went on our way home. She is most definitely going to have to pay a lot to clear the cinder out, but this is the price for those who think that they're above the law. Look, I get that OP seems fairly insistent that this is petty revenge, but I'm hesitating a bit on calling this one. Sure, I get it, white paint and black oil don't mix well, but if Karen was frantically trying to clean her windshield, is that because she can't see at all? Or at least it's obstructed her vision enough to be a bit dangerous? I get it, I drive an old Civic, so I really can't claim to be an expert on the scientific intricacies of rolling coal, but I would definitely hesitate to encourage a situation in which a driver could lose control of their own vehicle and potentially cause a collision with an entirely innocent vehicle nearby. It doesn't sound like Karen ever truly lost control, but I would definitely advocate caution in a scenario like that, regardless of how much of an asshole this Karen in this particular BMW were being. I mean, anyway, does it really matter if she can't see out? She might not be able to see a turn coming up, but it's not like the BMW has turn signals anyway. You destroy a sign every week? Fine, I'll destroy your car. Okay, so it was a Monday morning and all the maintenance crews were meeting up to make our plans for the day. The complex manager came into the shop as normal, but he brought with him a work order. Looks like someone destroyed the stop sign again on our first entrance, and who's willing to try and fix it again? I spoke up again because I had just fixed it last week. The manager said, "Yep, and it's already busted." I replied, "Hey boss, will you give me permission to fix it my way? It'll cost a bit, but if you're okay with it, I'll do it." My manager said, "Alright, but don't go too crazy." I take my team over to ABC Lumber and we pick up a 12-foot 6x6 and a few bags of cement and then go rent an auger and set forth my plan. We dig down 4 feet and set the pole and cement it in. Luckily, it was a little warm that day. We used 10 bags of cement and portable forced air heat to finish the job. I screwed the sign on and we called it a day. The week went by and no problems, and we crossed our fingers for the weekend. Monday morning, I drive over to the first entrance and I find my sign still standing, but I find a fender and a bumper laying next to it. I smile and head for the shop. During our meeting, the manager comes in and said a tenant called to complain that our sign destroyed his truck and he was pretty pissed. My manager laughed and said, "Good job. I guess we don't have to worry about fixing that sign again." Over the next couple months, we found more bumpers and fenders and some broken glass. When I left that job, the sign was still standing. You know, I've been criticized in the past for showing what some consider to be too much remorse in some of these revenge stories, but oh, not this one, boys. That is dangerous. Missing stop signs can literally kill people, and the audacity to complain about your bad driving? A stop sign means to slow your car to a halt in the road, not, "Hey, if you hit me, I will stop your vehicle." Like, learn how to drive, asshole, and then maybe you won't have to worry about how easy stop signs are to knock over.